Hello dear friends and welcome back to my YouTube channel. In this video we are going to see and study some more games of Ashot Anastasian. I assure you not much games left. And here I'm having his game from 1993 from tournament in Rostov against Boris Alterman, 2600 player, very strong Grandmaster. c4, c5, knight c3, g6, g3, bishop g7, bishop g2, knight c6, e3, and here Alterman went e5. Nowadays not the strongest. I think it is more principle and much more straightforward to go e6 and then knight e7 and d5. I remember a very old game between Ashot Anastasian and Armenian. e6, knight e2, knight e7, short castle, d4, c takes, and now doesn't matter how do you capture with the knight or with the e pawn, then d5 is coming. Anastasian continued c captures, and now e takes d5 is also very much possible. Knight captures, pawn captures, bishop e3 with the ideas to go knight f4, first protecting on d4 and preparing knight f4. Yes, computer is showing different ideas. Rook e8, bishop g4, maybe even some h5. Armenian went bishop g4, queen d2, again preparing knight f4. And once again, rook e8, some queen f6. But if you go rook e8, it means that you let white getting the knight on f4. So bishop takes e2, queen e2, here capturing with the bishop and capturing with the knight are very much possible. First knight takes d4, queen d2. Yes. Knight f5 maybe would have been slightly more precise than the move Armenian played. Queen f6, rook d1, knight f3, bishop captures, queen captures on d5, queen is capturing back, rook takes on d5. Yes, we have something very close to equality. Of course, computer here is showing drawn position, complete equality, but no doubts it is still preferable and easier to play with the white pieces. I think they even continued rook d8, rook d1, rook captures, bishop captures on b2, rook b5. Yes, very interesting game. e5, knight e2, knight e7, short castle, and d3. White is having ideas slowly to prepare a3, rook b1, b4. If you somehow go a5, then always I can get my knight on d4, d5, and making b2, b4 ideas possible or supporting that ideas. Yes, we see some rook b8, a3, a5, rook b1, d6. So Alterman started with d6, a3, a5. Otherwise, b4 pawn sacrifices are very much possible. Rook b1. Engine likes more rook b8. Alterman went bishop e6. Yes, knight d5, supporting our d5 with our knight on d5 before ideas. Still, we need to get the bishop on d2. Computer is showing bishop g4, h3, bishop d7, or bishop d7. The point behind bishop d7 is to capture on d5. Because now if you take on d5 with the knight, then after c takes d, you are losing one of your pieces. That's the point why engine is showing bishop d7. rook b8, knight c3. White is already having some pressure, some advantage. And once again, bishop d7. Maybe with the ideas to capture on d5 and then knight d7. But anyway, white is better. b6, bishop d2. Yes, already very unpleasant. Queen d7, queen f4. And white is ready to go b4. Rook d8, b4. A takes, a takes. And the main point is being that very soon white will capture on c5. And if you take with the d pawn, then you're having weakness and target on b6. If you take with the b pawn, some tactical ideas might be there, jumping with the knights. So computer is showing knight b4, queen takes d7, rook takes d7, knight takes b4, c takes b4. Yes, rook takes b4, which allows some d5 or knight d5. White is having better position. Of course, black is not lost, but very unpleasant position. So it was bishop f5, attacking the pawn on d3. Yes, b5. Computer is showing that b5 works because with the knight on c6 you don't have many good squares to go. B takes c, another very strong move. And now the best would have been to capture with the b pawn, but anyway, position is very bad after some knight b6, queen e8, knight e4. D takes c. And computer likes here going e4. Anastasian played another classy move, bishop e4. If you capture on e4, then d takes c is coming. White has a very good outpost for the knights on d5. And here, knight b4, queen takes, rook takes, knight takes, pawn takes, and of course, knight d5, not capturing on b4, because after bishop e4, you are losing your pawn on d3, because d takes c is not possible, bishop on d2 is under attack. Knight d5, knight captures, pawn captures, and now bishop e4, d takes c. Very soon white will collect pawn on b4, maybe even start attacking or trying to enter through this c or a files, or attacking pawn on b6. If you go some f5, always I can play f3, rook c7, bishop captures, bishop f8, bishop takes f8 or bishop a5, rook d1, rook c4, attacking the pawn on e4, bishop a5, bishop c5, rook b5. And now the best move is to play rook b7 with very good chances to in the end get rook endgame with the extra pawn for white and with some chances for black to survive. Rook takes c4, rook c1, threatening rook captures on c5, rook a4, rook takes a5, rook takes a5, b takes a, rook captures the pawn. Yes, rook endgame with the extra pawn for white and with the very good chances for white to win. And here computer shows that king g7, maybe even f5. Black is having some small chances to make a draw. Alterman went rook b1, king g2, and now e4. and they forgot or they missed very typical g4 idea, with the ideas to go king g3, king f4, h6, h4, king f8, king g3. White is ready to play king f4, and now rook a4. Yes, if f5, I can take king f4. I'm having some rook a6 ideas, of course. It was this, capturing on e4, rook e7, forcing opponent to move the pawn from f7, and now captures, king f4, and now f3, rook h7. Here in this position, Boris Alterman resigned. Maybe the best chance for him here in this position, instead of capturing on e4, to play rook b7. And the point is being, if you go rook b1, yes, d6, rook d7, rook b1, I'm playing rook d7 because if rook takes e4, rook c5 is coming. So you most likely take my pawn, I'm taking, and here I take rook e4. Yes. With two pairs of rooks on the board, maybe some chances for black to survive. Still unpleasant endgame, but with some chances. Yes, another game by Ashot Anastasian, 2470 against Cengiz Edwins, 2555, Katowice, 1993, d4 e6, c4 b6, slightly dubious move order and slightly dubious opening, e4. And now computer says bishop b4 is the best move, knight c3, bishop b7. Cengiz went bishop b7, bishop d3, and knight c6. Here bishop b4, king f1 is walking. If you go f5, then e takes f, e takes f, knight f3. If you take bishop g2, I guess this queen h5 move is almost finishing the game. You take, I go bishop g7. You take, I go king f8. And now, despite white is losing some material on h1, but white has very strong attack. Bishop g5, knight f6, queen h4. And if you capture, just knight e2. Yes, here f5, we just take. If e takes f, even king f1, e takes f, knight f3 is very good move. Bishop b4, king f1, and here check. King e7, of course, does not work because of the check, and now takes, threatening g takes h and g7, and now takes, only move. And now we don't go h7 takes g8 because here after king g8, black is not worse. We just go bishop g5, forcing this knight f6, and then queen h4. Later on, we get our knight on e2. We can castle alongside. Knight is coming to f4. Yes. Knight c6, attacking the pawn on d4. Knight e2, knight b4. And this is the point behind. Black's opening, black's setup. Black managed to get white's bishop on d3. Short castle or knight c3. Now white is threatening to go bishop b1. Takes, takes. And now the best move is to go bishop b4, which makes no sense. You just After playing this very dubious opening and eventually getting pair of bishops to just give up very quickly, this is not the point behind d6, short castle, knight f6, d5, bishop e7, knight d4, putting some more pressure on e6, queen d7. Different moves are there, rook e1, queen g3, a4. And here we see f4. Short castle is the best move, c5 by Genghis, knight e2. And you are having pair of bishops, but both of them are completely restricted. E takes d, c takes d, and now some b5. If I take knight b5, probably bishop a6 or some knight. If I capture here, then knight e4 is coming. Yes, I do have ideas like knight g3, b4, knight d1. So h5, a4, stopping b5 ideas, h4, h3, not allowing any h4, h3, short castle b3, preparing bishop b2. Maybe not the best, but very smart, very straightforward. Some a6, b5, plus knight e8, bishop b2. Yes, if you go f5, then white is having some ideas to push e5. Knight c7, f5, stopping all possible f7, f5 ideas. If you go bishop a6, then queen d2, bishop f6, rook f4, rook g4. Yes, here bishop a6 and bishop e2. Somehow, in this position, rook g4 is not the best, and it gives black very quick counterplay with bishop a6. So the best is to play some queen f3 or rook e1. And here bishop a6 is coming. Let's say queen d2. I'm capturing. If I take with the queen, now you go bishop d4. I move my king, and now you go knight e8. Wow. Very beautiful idea. Knight is coming to f6. And if I take with the knight, which also looks very tempting, you take, I take, and again knight e8. Wow. Not obvious at all. Even this final position that black is doing okay. Anyway, king h7, queen d2, knight e8, king h1, g5. Otherwise, I'm having ideas to go knight f4, knight h5, knight g1, knight f3. You're just having this useless bishop on b7. It was g5, knight g1, rook g8, knight f3, rook g7, rook f1. Yes, almost plus 3. You can go rook g1, g3. You can go direct g3. Bishop c1 is there. e5. Not the strongest, but very interesting. Takes knight e4. Rook d8. But by pushing e5, we opened bishop on b7, which is not very good. And now eventually black got enough activity. So the best moves are rook e1, queen c1, queen e3. So it was this. And now bishop takes d5 or rook d5, and black is having much better position already. So this, queen e3, bishop takes, knight takes, and here the best move is to go f6. Now white is having useless bishop on b2. Queen d7. f6. Queen d7. He forgot. He missed something. Though still rook d1 is possible. King h2 would have been the strongest. Queen e2. Rook d2, queen e5. Rook d1 or rook d5. Black is so far okay. Queen e3, rook d3. Now queen e7. Yes, after bishop c6, black is much better. Takes, takes. f6. Yes, queen e7. Big inaccuracy, blunder. Bishop takes f6. No doubts, Cengiz had in mind this f6 move and threatening moving the knight away and threatening some different ideas, and also trying to get the king on f7, but bishop takes f6. If you go knight takes, if rook f6, then knight e4, knight takes f6. If you take with the knight, I'm sure rook f6 is the move to play. Yes. Rook takes. Maybe he forgot this one. If you take knight h3, rook g4 is coming, king g1. And now your rook is hanging. I'm ready to move my bishop back, and then rook f8. Now takes, takes. Bishop c3, threatening rook f8. And now check. And now takes. And check. Promotion. Rook e3. Now bishop e1. And here in this position, Edwin's Cengiz resigned. Not the best game of Ashot Anastasian. From start of the game, he got a very promising position. He slowly increased his advantage, but later on, he went for some very concrete, very tactical, and very sharp lines. And some of the ideas didn't work, and black had promising position, much better position, but Cengiz blundered by pushing f7, f6, and after some few precise moves, Anastasian won the game. Thank you very much once again, and hope to see you in my upcoming videos. Bye bye.